Picture this, the dawn of the 5th century BC, on one side, the mighty Persian Empire, the largest the world had ever seen, stretching from India to Libya. On the other, a scattered collection of small, fiercely independent Greek city-states. It seems like an impossible mismatch, right? But what followed was one of the most epic and consequential conflicts in human history, the Greco-Persian Wars. This wasn't just a war. It was a clash of civilizations that would shape the future of the Western world. So, grab your helmet and shield, because we're diving deep into the battles that defined an era. It all started in Ionia, a region of Greek city-states on the coast of modern-day Turkey, which had fallen under Persian rule. In 499 BC, tired of Persian taxes and tyrants, they revolted. Athens and Eretria, two city-states from mainland Greece, sent ships and soldiers to help their Ionian cousins. They even managed to march inland and burn the Persian regional capital of Sardis. This act of defiance infuriated the Persian king, Darius the Great. He saw it not just as a rebellion, but as a direct challenge from these upstart Greeks. The Ionian revolt was eventually crushed, but for Darius, the fight was far from over. He famously ordered a servant to repeat to him 3 times at every dinner, "Master, remember the Athenians." Revenge was on the menu. In 490 BC, Darius made his move. A massive Persian fleet sailed across the Aegean Sea, not just to punish Athens and Eretria, but to bring all of Greece under Persian control. After sacking Eretria, the Persians landed at a bay just 26 miles from Athens, the Bay of Marathon. The Athenians were in a panic. They were vastly outnumbered. They sent a runner, Phidippides, to Sparta to beg for help, but the Spartans were in the middle of a religious festival and couldn't march until the full moon. Athens was on its own. The Athenian general, Miltiades, had a daring plan. Instead of waiting to be besieged in their city, he convinced the Athenians to march out and meet the Persians on the plains of Marathon. For days, the two armies faced each other. The Athenians had about 10,000 heavily armed soldiers, called hoplites. The Persians had at least twice that, a mix of infantry and cavalry. The Persians were confident, but Miltiades saw a weakness. He noticed the Persian center was strong, but their flanks were weaker. So, he did something radical. He deliberately weakened his own center and reinforced his flanks. Then, he gave the order to charge. The Athenians ran across the open ground, a move that stunned the Persians, who were used to their enemies advancing slowly. The weak Athenian center buckled, just as Miltiades planned, drawing the best Persian troops inward. But then, the powerful Greek flanks, which had defeated their Persian counterparts, wheeled inwards and enveloped the Persian center. It was a slaughter. The Persians broke and fled back to their ships. Against all odds, the tiny army of Athens had defeated the superpower of the day. The Battle of Marathon was a legendary victory that proved the Persians were not invincible. The news of the defeat stung the Persian court, but Darius began planning an even larger invasion. However, he died before he could launch it. The task fell to his son, Xerxes the Great. Xerxes wasn't just seeking revenge, he was planning a full-scale conquest. He spent years amassing an army of unprecedented size, hundreds of thousands strong, and a navy of over 1,000 ships. This time, there would be no mistakes. In 480 BC, this immense force crossed from Asia into Europe over a specially constructed bridge of boats. Faced with this terrifying threat, the Greek city-states, who were usually fighting each other, did something remarkable. They formed an alliance. Led by Sparta and Athens, about 30 city-states agreed to fight together. Their strategy was simple: use the terrain to their advantage. They couldn't win on an open field, but they could use narrow passes and straits to nullify the Persian numbers. The first stand would be at a narrow mountain pass called Thermopylae, which translates to the Hog Gates. This is where one of history's most famous last stands took place. A small Greek force, led by the Spartan king Leonidas and his 300 personal bodyguards, was tasked with holding the pass. For 2 days, they did the impossible. Packed into the narrow defile, the superior armor and long spears of the Greek hoplites were devastating. Wave after wave of Persian infantry, including Xerxes' elite immortals, were thrown back with heavy losses. Xerxes, watching from his throne, was said to have leapt to his feet in frustration 3 times, but the Greeks' heroic stand was doomed. A local Greek trader, Ephialtes, showed the Persians a secret mountain path that led behind the Greek position. When Leonidas learned he was being outflanked, he sent the bulk of the Greek army away to fight another day. He, his 300 Spartans, and a few hundred other loyal Greeks stayed behind to cover the retreat. They fought to the last man, buying precious time for the rest of Greece. Their sacrifice became a powerful symbol of courage against overwhelming odds, inspiring the Greeks to continue the fight. While Leonidas was fighting at Thermopylae, the Greek and Persian navies clashed in the nearby Straits of Artemisium. The Greek fleet, led by the Athenian politician and general Themistocles, held its own but was forced to retreat after news of the defeat at Thermopylae arrived. The path was now open for the Persians. They marched south, burning and looting as they went. They reached Athens, found it abandoned, and burned the city and its acropolis to the ground. From the outside, it looked like the Greek cause was lost, but Themistocles had one more card to play. He had convinced the Athenians to evacuate their city and put their faith in their navy, their wooden walls. He then lured the massive Persian fleet into the narrow straits of Salamis, near Athens. He even sent a fake message to Xerxes, pretending to be a traitor, claiming the Greek fleet was disorganized and about to flee. Xerxes, eager for a decisive victory, took the bait. He ordered his fleet to block the straits and attack. It was a colossal mistake. In the cramped waters of Salamis, the huge Persian fleet couldn't maneuver. Their numbers became a disadvantage. They were crowded, disorganized, and ran into each other. The smaller, more agile Greek triremes, with their bronze rams, darted in and out, sinking and disabling ship after ship. It was chaos. Xerxes watched in horror from a throne on the shoreline as his mighty navy was systematically destroyed. The Battle of Salamis was a stunning naval victory for the Greeks and a turning point in the war. With his navy shattered, Xerxes feared the Greeks would sail to the Hellespont and destroy his bridge of boats, trapping his army in Europe. He retreated back to Asia with a large portion of his army, leaving his general Mardonius behind with a still massive force to finish the conquest the following year. The final act of the war came in for 79 BC. Mardonius tried to use diplomacy to split the Greek alliance, offering to rebuild Athens and make it a powerful ally. The Athenians famously refused, declaring that as long as the sun followed its course, they would never make a deal with Xerxes. The allied Greek army, the largest ever assembled, met Mardonius's forces on the fields of Plataea. The Battle of Plataea was a brutal, sprawling infantry battle. It was a straight-up fight between the best of the Greek hoplites, led by the Spartan general Pausanias, and the combined forces of the Persian Empire. After days of skirmishing, a confused retreat by a Greek contingent led Mardonius to believe the Greeks were fleeing. He ordered an all-out charge, but the Spartans turned and stood their ground. In the vicious fighting that followed, Mardonius himself was killed. With their leader gone, the Persian army's morale collapsed. The battle turned into a rout, and the Persian army in Greece was annihilated. On the very same day, across the Aegean Sea at Mycale, the remnants of the Greek fleet attacked and destroyed the beached Persian navy. These twin victories, at Plataea and Mycale, effectively ended the Persian invasion of Greece for good. The Greco-Persian Wars were more than just a military victory. They ensured the survival of Greek culture and political ideas like democracy, philosophy, and individual freedom that might have been extinguished under Persian rule. The victory ushered in the Golden Age of Athens, a period of unprecedented cultural and intellectual achievement. It created a sense of shared Greek identity and left a legacy that would inspire generations and shape the course of Western civilization. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's greatest conflicts, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next historical adventure. See you next time.